Hello and welcome back to Necrobarista. Looks like this time we're in the ritual room, and it's kind of difficult for me to yeah, that lighting's better. It was difficult to see what's going on. Oh, there's Beth 3. We haven't read Beth 2 yet. We could unlock Beth 3. Wait a second, have I found Beth 2 yet? I have. I could unlock that as well, so that would probably be a better choice first. Is there anything else here? Judgment 2. Again, I could unlock it, but have I read Judgment 1? No. So that's also no for now. Is there anything else down here? Sometimes I just sit. That, on the other hand, I can't unlock yet. Alright. Are those all of them? It's kind of difficult to see down here. There's something behind here? No. So I'm gonna assume that's all of them. Anything in this corner maybe? Nope. Alright, let's leave here then. Up the stairs. Jesus, that's dark. There we go. Who wants to live forever? Is that a Queen quote? I feel like it is. Espresso machine's acting up again. Maddie sighed. Why does it have to be like this? It doesn't have to be like this, said Jay. You're right, said Maddie. It wasn't always like this. If you travel back in time far enough, you'll find an era when we had a working espresso machine. And if you travel even further back, you'll get to a time when espresso machines didn't exist, said Jay. Maddie reached below the counter for the bottle of Chardonnay she had opened that morning. It was half empty. Is this the prelude to one of those moments where an old man tells me about how lucky we are to have things so easy? Nah, said Jay. Things aren't easier. In fact, they're harder. That's why you need all the modern technology to help deal with them. Jay nodded to the wine bottle in Maddie's hand. So, are you gonna offer me some of that, or just keep squeezing its neck like you're trying to choke it? Maddie began pouring a drink for Jay. So, what were things like back in the old days? Well, for one thing, we didn't need glasses back then. Glasses are not a new invention, old man. I've seen pictures of Benjamin Franklin. Well, yeah, we had glasses back then, but we didn't use them. We drank straight from the bottle. Ah. No, really, said Jay. Glasses are just one more thing to keep track of. One more thing to clean. It's much easier to just pass a bottle back and forth. That may be the case, said Maddie, but I'm sure our patrons appreciate the extra effort that goes into making sure they're always drinking from clean glasses. I'm sure they do, said Jay. That's another thing that's changed. Everyone's a connoisseur of whatever they're drinking. Is that you finger-wagging about how young people have particular tastes? No, said Jay. At least I don't think it is. I guess people are all enjoying the present moment more. Back when you drank sock juice, you were just doing whatever it took to get that stimulant into your bloodstream. Ditto for most depressants. Do I want to know what sock juice is? Said Maddie. Because I'm fairly certain I don't. We didn't have coffee filters back then, said Jay, so you'd use a sock instead. Don't worry, we always used clean socks whenever they were available. Maddie closed her eyes, looking physically ill. You were saying something about people enjoying the present moment. Before that, thoroughly awful digression about how you made coffee. Yeah, said Jay. I know there's the stereotype about how in modern society no one is ever really present, but if anything, I feel like it's the other way around. Nowadays people are all about enjoying the present moment. People used to be way more obsessed with where they were going. As in where they were migrating to? In a manner of speaking, said Jay. Let's just say that I'm amazed how few people these days come in here asking questions about heaven and hell. 100 years ago, if you caught someone on their way out of this world, the first thing they wanted to know was, which place is this? And after they found out they were on a temporary stop to the next place, they'd want to know where it was they were going. There's still plenty of that, said Maddie. Yeah, but a lot less of it, said Jay. And you know, I don't think it was a case of people's priorities suddenly changing once they found themselves standing on the precipice. There were people who used to describe themselves as God-fearing. It was just a part of life. And now it's not. He shrugged. I guess people found more important things to worry about. Is that Maddie or is that Jay? I can't tell. There wasn't a lot going on back then. Probably Jay. He took a sip of Chardonnay. Oh God, how am I supposed to tell who this is? Good thing I'm going to live forever. Where do you go to hell? Hell yes, said Jay. I've done way too much sinning to ever make it into heaven. You've done more good than ill for the world, said Maddie. I'm pretty sure that balances it out. You probably have a positive balance. Nah, said Jay. I don't think it works like that. I'm pretty sure I'm just a bad person who happens to do good things most of the time. Well, it might not be good enough for heaven, but it's good enough for me, said Maddie. So I guess it is a good thing that you're going to live forever. Wait. Oh yeah, that's just a text that's up there. Now where the hell do I find all of these texts that we can read? Where do I find Beth 2? Wandering Spirit. Have we read that before? Yes, we have. Nope. Oh yeah, I remember. Is there anything else in here besides Beth 1 and Ashley's journal back there? Yeah, there's this. I remember. Rotten Poppy. We don't have enough memories for it, of course. But it's there. Other than that, no. So we can leave the basement for now. Let's get back up into the cafe. Other way. Crucible product reviews. Still not enough. We are lacking in Australia. Where's that? Okay, no. Anything here? Nope. Judgment 1, there it is. Jay sat in the corner of the cafe with a book on in his lap. His eyes danced over the page for several moments, the words on the page illuminated by the candle that sat perched on the armrest of his chair. Then, after several moments passed, he turned the page. He hadn't actually internalized any of the text on the page, nor had he taken in any of the text of the 50 preceding pages. I know that feeling. When you read a book that you have to read, like back in school, and you're just reading it, and when you turn the page, you've already forgotten what you've read the page before. He was vaguely aware of the fact that the book kept on referring to a man named Henry, who Jay presumed was the protagonist of the book he held in his lap, but beyond that, knew little to nothing. Jay didn't particularly mind this fact. In fact, if he started actually following the story that was told on the pages of this book, he would consider it a great failure. Jay enjoyed sitting down with a book, and he enjoyed the platonic ideal of reading. But when it came to telling stories, he found books to be a poor substitute for a person sitting next to him. He didn't pick up books when he wanted to be told a story. He picked up books when he wanted to be alone, to situate comfy chair and bask in candlelight and sit silently in a meditative state. He turned another page. "Hey," said a familiar voice, interrupting him. "I'm in the middle of a book, Ned," said Jay. "If you hadn't noticed." That was the book's secondary function. It deterred people who might see a man sitting alone and seize upon the opportunity to start a conversation when he was not in the mood for conversation. "Is it a good book?" said Ned. "I was enjoying being alone with it," said Jay. "Yeah, you looked really engrossed. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've got a favor to ask." "Why is it always to ask a favor?" said Jay, looking past Ned and speaking to no one in particular, even though there was no one but Ned near enough to hear him speak. "Why is it never, 'Hey Jay, I just wanted to stop by to offer you a favor'?" "I did that one time," said Ned. "You said you were busy, which I figured was your way of politely saying please don't bother me with this kind of visit, so I stopped." "Did you? I don't remember it." "I'm sure you do remember it," said Ned. It was from back before he started forgetting things. Sometime around... When did the war start? You're going to have to be a lot more specific, said Jay. You know, the war with the soldiers and the guns. Ah, that war, said Jay. I did narrow it down a bit, didn't I? I'm not that old, said Jay. Wars were fought with guns even when I was a young man. Same for you. Did they? Well, it was the war with the, Ned trailed off. He raised a hand to his face and flicked his helmet, mimicking the unmistakable ping of an MI or M1 Garand. I don't know. And that was a helmet? I thought that was just part of his face. World War II? Which one was that? The one with the Nazis, said Jay. That sounds about right, said Ned. Anyway, I came to ask a favor. I hope that favor was spend a few minutes of your time having an inane conversation, but we already did that, said Jay. My, but you're snippy today, said Ned. What's gotten into you? Jay held up the book. A good book is what's gotten into me. Sorry, said Ned. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't urgent. I'm in need of an interpreter. You speak Cantonese, right? Yes, said Jay. Great, said Ned. Can I steal you for a few hours? Not if it's to be an interpreter, said Jay. Why not? You speak Cantonese and you seem fluent enough in English, so why would you say no specifically to translating? Being an interpreter is not as simple as being bilingual, Ned. Damn right, Jay. Isn't it? I figured you hear things in one language and say them in another. Seems simple to me. Are you literate? Said Jay. A bit. Can you write a work of great literature? Said Jay. Nope, said Ned. Well, there you go, said Jay. There's more to translating than being bilingual. Oh, come on, said Ned. I'm in a pinch. I'm not asking you to be a great interpreter, just an adequate one. There's lots of bilingual people around, said Jay. I'm sure you know other places to ask. Yeah, but, you know, I know you're not the kind of person to spill secrets, said Ned. And it's the kind of conversation that I just want to be between me and one other person, you know? Great, said Jay. Sounds like you need a professional interpreter. I hear they're great at facilitating those kinds of interactions. Come on, said Ned. What can a professional interpreter do that you can't? A lot of things, said Jay. But for one, a professional interpreter is someone you can count on to allow you to use their mouth to say incredibly stupid things without letting you or your counterparty know just how stupid they found the interaction. Funny that, said Ned. I always figured that's the kind of thing you'd be good at. Because I'm so good at holding my tongue? Yes. I've tried before, said Jay, kicking up his feet. Being an interpreter pays well if you find yourself working for the right people, and it leaves your hands a lot less callous than some of the work I found myself doing instead. But you'll notice my hands have calluses. Turns out holding your tongue is oftentimes harder than digging holes. Come on, you know how to be a diplomat, said Ned. Fuck off, said Jay. There, that was me being undiplomatic. Now would you kindly find another solution to your problem, one that doesn't involve me performing a task that I've told you at least twice now that I'm not going to do. Ned started to say something, but stopped just short of making an utterance and backed off. Hey Maddie, Ned shouted. No, Maddie replied. I hadn't even asked you for anything yet, said Ned. I know, I thought I would save you the time, said Maddie. Ned sighed. What is with you people? Maddie turned toward Ned and glowered at him. You people? Ned raised his hands defensively. I didn't mean, look, I just mean that you two, you're, birds of a feather in quite a few ways. Maddie stared at him and Ned contemplated whether there was any way for him to make a statement grouping Maddie and Che together without making himself look worse than he already did. He sighed in frustration. You know what your problem is? Yes, said Maddie. I know him quite well, and he's standing right in front of me. We probably now don't have enough memories to get Judgment 2, do we? of course not. What else do we have? Thinking about alchemy. And it continues, but I can't read it. And something down under. And Ashley's inventions too. Wait. We don't have Ashley's inventions 1, so we're not going to read that. Beth 2, advisory role. There's a couple of things we could read, if we can find them. So let's have a look at where these things could be placed. Is there anything still? That's the fisherman. Do we have anything around this tree in the middle here? It doesn't look like it. Anything around here? No, I don't think so. Actually, is that? No. Okay. Let's go... apparently you can't go through here. Let's go upstairs then, I think. Yeah. Looked at everything down here. There's sun coming through my window. That's like behind my computer screen, so I'm having even more trouble seeing what the hell is going on here. Advisory roll, there you go. Unlock that one. Maddie was washing her hands when Ashley poked her head around the corner. Here to confess something or here to ask for something? Thought Maddie to herself as she dried her hands and turned to face the girl. The grin on Ashley's face confirmed that it was the latter. Maddie arched an eyebrow and turned to the coffee grinder. Ashley stepped around the corner and stood close enough to Maddie to occupy her field of view. Every time Maddie turned, Ashley again repositioned herself. She was waiting for Maddie to notice her. After a minute, Maddie decided that having Ashley hovering around her was more distracting than indulging whatever it was she wanted to talk about. What do you need, Ashley? I don't need anything, said Ashley. Though, now that you mention needing things, I think you might need something. Such as? An advisor. Ashley smiled triumphantly as she delivered the word. Uh-huh. What would I need an advisor for? To advise you, of course, said Ashley. And I suppose you have a suggestion for who I should take on as an advisor? Well, said Ashley, now that you mention it, I'm not too busy. I could be your advisor. Because you're an expert on... advising. That's what an advisor needs to know about. And what makes you an expert on advising? I've been learning a lot about advisors, said Ashley. They get to help to make important decisions. And then the person they're advising has to take responsibility for them. That's why I'd make a good advisor. Because you don't want to take responsibility for your actions? I'd take responsibility for my advice. But if someone follows my advice, then that's their decision and their responsibility. Duh. I don't think I need an advisor, said Maddie. Oh, but you do, said Ashley. Aren't you always complaining about how busy you are? Yes, said Maddie. So busy that I don't have time to have extra counseling sessions with you. I'm not going to be a counselor, Maddie. I'm going to be your advisor. The difference being... a counsellor counsels and an advisor advises. Of course, said Maddie. Busy people always seem to have advisors, said Ashley. The Prime Minister has advisors, presidents too. All the most important people have advisors. Their advisors tend to be more experienced than they are, said Maddie. Advice travels from those who have it to those who need it. Well, I'm doing fine, so I don't need advising, said Ashley. But you could do with some advising, and I'd be happy to give you all the advice I've got. Plus, you're more important than I am. You're kind of like the Prime Minister of the terminal, or the President of the terminal, or whatever. The kind of person who needs advisors. I see, said Maddie. So, am I hired? You already have a lot on your plate, I'm sure, said Maddie. Nope, said Ashley. I've got lots of time free. Ah, in that case, you have time to wash these dishes for me, said Maddie, tossing a drying rag to Ashley. Let me know when you're done. Wait, said Ashley. I'm only free to advise. I'm physically fatigued from a long day of work. Only my mind has extra processing power. I can only help you if it's by advising. Well, advising has physical responsibilities associated with it, right? said Maddie. Like, sometimes an advisor will go to places to get important information. I guess so, said Ashley. I can do anything that relates to giving you information. In that case, advisor Ashley, I need you to give me a report on which of these plates looks best when it's sparkling clean. But they're all dirty right now. Exactly. Time for you to do some investigative research. See ya. Nicely done, Maddie. Delicate operation. Did we unlock that already? Yes, we did. Oops. Well, when I'm already here, I might as well check out whether I still have enough for anything. Something down under. Yes, I do. Oh, I need to click return. Now the question is, where on earth can I find that? In here, maybe? This looks like the place where I'd find that. Exactly, there it is. Unlock it. Come on, I want to show you something. For a moment, Tuan thought of grabbing Hannah by the hand to lead her, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. Something about the idea of holding her hand seemed simultaneously too childish and too intimate for him to try this early in the night. Oh, where are you taking me? Said Hannah. Someplace cool, said Tuan. He located a ladder leading down from the lower level and gestured to it. After you. And now you're asking me to be the first one to jump into the gaping maw of whatever monsters might be lurking down there. Hannah shook her head ruefully. Where have all the gentlemen gone? Tuan smirked. I think a gentleman might say, ladies first. And I think a lady might say, I'll stand quietly behind while you deal with this street ruffian. Go ahead, barrel first, face first into danger. I'll follow behind. Well, said Tuan, technically I'm going feet first. You know, going down verticality and all that. I mean, nothing's stopping you from jumping in there. Face first. My head is actually the last part of me that will be arriving on the lower level. Are we going to keep standing here bantering, or are you going to show me whatever's down there? Said Hannah. You seemed infused by the idea only a few moments ago. I guess I just got distracted by your cattiness. Hannah got on the ladder on top of Tuan. Don't look up. Trust me, if you won't get to show you're expecting if you do. Fine. Tuan descended the ladder, keeping his gaze decidedly horizontal. After arriving on the level below, he studied his feet until Hannah landed beside him. Hannah joined him in studying his feet. Oh, please don't tell me you're one of those freaks who's obsessed with his sneakers. Nah, said Tuan. Just the kind who finds the sight of his own shoelaces a safe distraction from whatever he's trying to avoid looking at. Oh, good, said Hannah. Did you hear about that brawl in Darwin? No, said Tuan. Well, it was actually Darwin, California. You know, these international news sites always trying to sucker me into reading stories about what's happening in America. Anyway, nobody was hospitalized, but several kids walked away from that store with black eyes to show to their friends. I can understand that collectibles are a big deal, but come on, we live in a society. I don't think I'll ever understand sneakerheads. Wait, that's actually a thing? Said Tuan. Yeah, said Hannah. You didn't know about it? It's really big with hip youngsters. I guess I don't pay very close attention to the behavior of hip youngsters. Well, that was evident from the moment I laid eyes on you, said Hannah. But you seem adventurous enough. Maybe one day we'll encounter one of them. On that note, what are we here to see? Tuan led Hannah to one of the portholes of the room they were in. Look at this. Whoa, that is indeed a porthole. No, I mean, what's on the other side? Yep, said Hannah. That certainly is water on the other side of that porthole. Hold on, said Tuan. There's supposed to be a... He trailed off. A what? I don't want to spoil the surprise, said Tuan. Well, you have effectively replaced my awe and wonder of seeing the sea through a porthole in the basement of a Melbourne cafe with a feeling of disappointment that I'm not seeing whatever it is I'm supposed to be seeing. Tuan checked several of the other portholes. This is weird. It's usually... The sound of something landing behind them caused Tuan and Hannah to spin around and face the ladder they had just climbed down. The girl with twin tails stood up from a crouching stance and dusted herself off. Did you just jump down? Said Tuan. Good guess. Yep, said the girl. It's only 10 meters. And to think that we wasted our time climbing down that ladder like schmucks, said Hannah. So, Tuan stood gawking at the girl for a few moments. Sorry, I don't remember your name. I'm Ashley, said the girl. I guess turnabout is fair play because I don't remember your name either. It's Tuan. And I'm Hannah. You two know each other? Hannah said to Tuan as she pointed at Ashley. Yes, said Tuan. We know each other so well that we greet each other by asking each other what our names are. That's a great greeting ritual, said Hannah. We should try to popularize it. You know, normalize introducing yourself by name even to people you've met before. I bet it would save some people from a lot of awkwardness. Not everyone is good with names, you know. That's a great idea, said Ashley. I'm going to start doing that. Hannah shot a glance at Tuan and he grinned. So, what are you doing down here? Said Hannah. Here to kick us out? Is this a no patron zone? Or was that continuing to be Hannah? It's difficult. No, it's no problem, said the girl. But I was eavesdropping. Tuan's eyes widened and he looked at Hannah, but Hannah seemed to be more amused than upset at Ashley's appearance. And, said Ashley, it sounded like you weren't seeing what you wanted to be seeing, so I thought I'd come down and take you lower. Oh, where am I being taken now? Said Hannah. About 1,000 fathoms is where things start to get interesting, said Ashley. How much is 1,000 fathoms? Said Hannah. Ashley paused. It's about 1,800 meters, said Tuan. Sounds like a lot of climbing, said Hannah. Guess I should have brought better ladder climbing shoes. That sounds like the lament of a non-sneakerhead, said Tuan. Oh, no need to climb, said Ashley. Just hang on a sec. Ashley walked up to a panel with several mechanical levers, and after several moments the water outside the porthole began changing hue. What was that? What was that? Said Hannah. Swordfish, said Ashley. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was a sailfish, said Tuan. I'm pretty sure you made that up, said Hannah. Not really, said Tuan. They're a marlin, and they have a long bill like a swordfish, but they also have a broad, erect dorsal fin. If you had left the word erect out of that sentence, I might have believed you, said Hannah. No, he's probably right, said Ashley. I've seen him down here with marine biology books. He's a huge nerd, so I definitely trust his word over mine. Well, I'm glad that's settled, said Hannah. The part about you being a nerd, I mean. I think the sailfish with an erect dorsal fin still sounds kind of sketchy to me. Eventually the room stopped descending and Hannah looked outside the porthole. Now I see what you were excited about. There's a lot of stuff going on down here. Hey nerd boy, what's this one called? Tuan tried to follow Hannah's pointing finger. Which one are you pointing at? That shark looking thing. It looks like it's as big as a whale. Oh, said Tuan. That's a whale shark. See, said Hannah. I knew you were just making up names. No, that one's right, said Ashley. That's one of the few ones I know, because it's so easy to remember. It's a cross between a whale and a shark. Whale shark. So, said Hannah, this is a level of the ocean where interspecies romance happens. There isn't actually any whale DNA in a whale shark, said Tuan. It just has that name because of its size. It's the largest known species of fish. Hannah shook her head. First it's a whale shark, then it's just a shark, and now it's a fish. Tuan, the thing you need to know about making stuff up is that you need to stick to one version of the story. Sharks are fish, said Tuan. You didn't know that? They have gills. I'm kind of surprised you didn't know. I don't think you're the one who should be surprised by any of this, said Hannah. Everything that you've shown me down here is thoroughly weird. Me not knowing that sharks are fish? That seems very normal to me. Hey Ashley, did you know that sharks are fish? Nope, said Ashley. This is my first time hearing it too. Must be another made-up Tuan fact about marine biology, said Hannah. Tuan shrugged his shoulders. I guess so. The truth is that I'm just really creative and good at making up so-called facts. The part about me being a nerd who spends all his time studying marine biology must be a lie. No, I still believe that part, said Hannah. Me too, said Ashley. The trio stood for a few moments, wavering between looking out the porthole and looking at each other. The awkwardness hit just a few seconds before Ashley spoke up. Anyway, I figured this is where you wanted to hang out, so here you go, 2,000 fathoms. Give me a holler if you want to go deeper. Ashley walked to the ladder and disappeared through the hole in the ceiling. Okay. Huh. I always thought like when I because I didn't ever walk that close, I thought this was just kind of blurry. But it's actually relatively what's the word? Sharp? Not really. But it's actually the ocean out there. What is that yellow point that's following my mouse? Huh. Interesting. Whatever. I think we should... Wait. Was that? No. Still haven't found Ashley's Inventions 1. Anywhere around here? Maybe something else? No. Okay. I'm assuming that that's now everything that I can see. Yes, that should be everything. So, we're going back to the main story. However, we're going to be doing that in the next episode. This one's gone on for long enough. I hope you enjoyed it. See you guys next time. Bye.